What is up, math superstars? In this edition of Mr. Peterson Presents, we're going to talk about dividing integers. And so a really good place to start with is we're going to talk about the rules for dividing integers. So just like we shared the rules with multiplication, they're exactly the same for division. So what we hear is we have our lovely little chart here. And of course, you can always write this down pretty easily by making a little tic-tac-toe board. And then you notice that your positives are in the diagonal and everything else is negative. So little refresher, however we read this board, we can read this as if we have a positive number, so a positive divided by a negative will give us a negative. If we have a positive number and we divide it by a positive number, will give us a positive number. We can also read this as a negative divided by a positive will give us a negative number. And we can also read this as a negative divided by a negative will give us a positive number. So here we have some examples here. So we have 15 divided by 5. So we have a positive divided by a positive. So we know that's going to be it's going to give us a positive number, and 15 divided by 5 gives us 3. So our answer for this is positive 3. So here on this slide, we have a negative number divided by a positive number. So here, let's look at our chart. We have a negative divided by a positive is going to give us a negative number. So we have negative number, and then 15 divided by 5 is 3. So this is going to give us an answer of negative 3. So here we're given negative 15 divided by negative 5. So we have a negative divided by a negative. So on our chart here, a negative divided by a negative is going to lead us to a positive number. And so 15 divided by 5 is 3. So a negative divided by a negative is going to give us a positive number. When we do negative 15 divided by negative 5 gives us negative 3. All right, Math Superstar, you are now ready to model division of integers using counters. So what I'm going to have you do is stop where you're at. You're going to go ahead, and if you're in the classroom, you can go ahead and get a little baggie of counters to help you. But this is the part of the video that is important to make sure you watch this video first, then hit the pause button, rewind, and watch it again and take notes. So you start getting the idea and the concept first, and then you do your notes second. So now let's go ahead and talk about how we are going to use counters in talking about division of integers. So here we're going to start with the first one. We have 8 divided by 2. So here our very first number here, 8 tells us, this will tell us the number of counters we are going to use. And 2 is going to tell us the number of groups. So all we're going to do now is we are going to model positive 8. So we're going to use our yellow counters here. 1, 2, 3, and then I'll throw 5 more down. Come on, work for me. There we go, boom. So I modeled, so here we go, I modeled positive 8s. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. And now I'm going to go ahead and make 2 groups. So the number of groups, I need to make 2 groups here. So let's make 2 groups out of this. So here's my first group that has 4 in it. And my second group here, so I made 2 groups. And each group contains 1, 2, 3, 4 positive counters here. So I've successfully modeled 8 divided by 2 gives us a positive 4. So now let's go ahead and we're going to model negative 8 divided by 2 here. So what this tells us, negative 8, so we're going to use the number of counters number of counters. We're going to use now the red ones, since this is negative, so we'll use the red ones. And this is going to tell us the number of groups. So now first step is let's go ahead and put down -8 counters. There's 5, 6, 7, and 8. And now we need to make 2 groups here. So let's go ahead now, figure out how we can evenly make 2 groups. And then all we do is we count how many is in one group. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can say that there are 4 counters in that group, and since we use the right counters, those are negative. So we can say that in modeling -8 divided by 2, it gives us an answer of -4. So now let's go ahead and take a look at 8 divided by -2. So what this is going to tell us here is 8 is going to tell us that that is the number of counters. So we're going to throw down 8 yellow counters. And this -2 is telling us 2 different things here. So let's switch colors here. We use some orange. So the 2 is telling us we need to make 2 groups. And then after we do all of that, the negative sign here, so this negative right here, that's going to tell us that we need to flip the counters. So here is the way that this is going to look. You ready? We're going to model +8s. Let's throw down +8 counters. Nice. Nice, like it some more. Here we go. So let's go ahead and model that. And let's leave this. I'll model this. I'll make my 2 groups already. So I made my 2 groups. So let's go ahead and draw that out. Let's see what this is going to look like here. So I got my first group and I got my second group. Nice. And now, since it's -2, we need to flip the counters. So let's see if I can do this here. So what we're going to do is all of your positive counters here, they are now going to change to, oops, no, not that way. Can I change them to negative? Oh, maybe I can change them all. Let's see. Change them. I flipped them. Ta-da! 2 negative counters here. So I made, sorry about that. So I modeled +8, so I had the yellow counters, I made 2 groups, and then I flipped the counters. And what happens here is then we count how many are in one group here. Let's go ahead and do that. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So my answer is 4, but since we have red counters now, after I flipped it, we now have -4. So now what we're going to do, our last model for this video, is we're going to model -8 divided by -2. So our -8 is going to tell us that we need to have 8 red counters. And then our -2 means 2 different things here. So the 2 means we're making 2 groups. And then our negative sign, here the negative, it tells us we are going to flip the counters. So now let's go ahead and start to build out our model here. So we need to get 8 negative counters here. So 5, 6, 7, I think I hit 8 there. Let's double check count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's go ahead and make our 2 groups here. So I'm just going to rearrange my counters. So now what we're doing, let's go and circle our groups. So I have 2 groups of -4. But what we have to do, our last and final step, is we need to flip those counters. So let's go ahead and see if I can do this successfully this time. So what you're going to do is you have red counters. You're going to flip them over to the yellow counters. And then all we do now is we count how many are in one group, so we count them 1, 2, 3, 4. So we say that -8 divided by -2 gives us a +4. All right, the last part of this video here, you're going to model division of integers using number lines. So what I'm going to have you do is make sure you stop and take a little pause break, because what you're going to do is you're going to watch this video one time, this section one time, making sure that you understand the concept, and then you will go through the second time and take your notes. So now we're going to talk about how we can model division of two positive integers. And so here we have 10 divided by 5. So what 10 is telling us, so our dividend, this is telling us that we need to end at +10. So +10 is going to be our stopping point on the number line. So let's go ahead and do that on the number line here. Your number line's already labeled, mine is not, so I'm just labeling my number line. So we need to stop at +10. And what our divisor is telling us here is it's going to tell us that since it is positive, that we're going to face right. Sometimes the computer doesn't like the letter I. And we're going to take, so each step we take will be 5 units long. It doesn't like the I's. So what we do is we start at 0. So it says that each step we take has to be 5 units long. So we're going to take our first step, and then we're going to take our second step to end at 10. And so it tells us that we took a total of 2 steps to make it all the way to +10. So here I'm modeling 10 divided by 5 gives us 2, because we took 2 steps. Each step was 5 units long. So now let's go ahead and try to model a positive divided by a negative number here. So our first number is going to tell us where we need to stop at. So we're going to stop at +8. So let's go ahead and mark +8 on our number line here. And -2, that's going to tell us that we are going to face left, and that each step that we take is going to be 2 units long. So here's the way that this will look on our handy dandy number line. So we're going to start at 0. So we're facing left. We're facing the left direction. But what we're going to do is we need to stop at +8 here. So we need to walk backwards. So in walking backwards, it'll be a negative. We remember that from the multiplication video. So now we need to go 2 units backwards. So each step that we take is going to be 2 units backwards to get to +8. So in walking backwards, we walked backwards 4 steps. So here, our answer for +8 divided by -2 gives us -4. So now let's go ahead and take a look at this model. We're dividing a negative number divided by a positive number. And so what we do is our first number is going to tell us here. So we have -6 divided by -1 divided by +1. So we need to stop at -6. Let's go to mark -6 off right here on our number line. We're going to start at 0. And so what this is going to tell us here is that we're going to face right. So we're facing toward the positives there. And we need to, each step that we take is going to be 1 unit long. So here we go. So we're going to take steps. We're facing toward the positives, but we need to go to -6 here. So let's go ahead now. Let's pick a different color. Pick orange because I like that. Now we need to take 1 step. So right now we're going 1 step backwards. Every step we take is 1 step backwards, 1 unit backwards here. So to get to -6, we took 6 steps, but we did 6 steps backwards, so it would be -6. So now let's go ahead and take a look at this problem. We have -10 divided by -2. So here's how this is going to look here on our number line. So what we have is -10 tells us this is our stopping point. So this is where we want to end. So we're going to stop at -10. So we're going to put a little marker at -10. It's where we stop. And we're going to start at 0. And then -2, that's going to tell us that we're going to face left on our number line here. So we're going to face left. And it's going to tell us that each step we take is going to be 2 units long. So we're facing left. Let's go ahead and pick a different color here. So I'm going to pick green. So we face left. So each step that we take is going to be 2 units. So there's our first step. So another 2. There's our second step. There's our third step. Remember, we're walking forward this time. Our fourth step and our fifth step. And since we're facing forward and walking forward, we're facing toward -10 here. So that means we are walking forward as a positive, and we took 5 steps. So we can say that with our number line, that -10 divided by -2 is +5.